Welcome to Johnny and Phil's Voices from the Village podcast. We are delighted to have Mollie Edson with us. Mollie is a community maker, and we're just delighted to hear her point of view and her perspective on our community, Ellensburg, and also the surrounding areas of Ellensburg and Kittitas County.
Mollie, welcome this morning.
Thank you.
I know you've been a member of this community. I met you, I think, in 1980 for the first time.
Wow, that's a long time.
That's a long time.
Lucky guy.
Yeah, lucky guy. And you've served a lot of roles in the community. I really appreciate all the work you've done in the community, and all the ways you've supported it and helped improve it.
Well, thank you. Thank you.
So we have three questions this morning, as we told you. And the first one is, what inspires you about our community? What do you like? What do you see?
Well, I would say originally what I liked about this community was coming as a resident of Seattle. I liked the small nature of the community. I liked the ability to sort of see how everything worked. I grew up in Seattle, and it was just this large place that things happened and you didn't know why.
Mm-hmm.
So I found that very compelling to come to Ellensburg and get it. And not only that, bump into people you saw somewhere working at the university, now down at a restaurant, now in all over. So it was like, and you suddenly got this feeling like, well, I'm accountable here. I've talked to this person, and now I've talked to this person in another place, in another role, and I better be saying the same thing to all of these people, or there's going to be some hell to pay. And so I enjoyed that, because I think there was a real anonymous feeling in a large place that you didn't have. And so, but it's funny that that would be the thing that drew me to this town and made me want to stay here. I came as a student and never left. So that was the thought had been come for a couple of years and get out of here. And I just found my heart wanted to stay.
How many years have you been in Ellensburg?
I came as a student in 1974 or 5.
Wow.
Yeah. And
I didn't know that.
One of my funniest memories is, it happens to me every time, is I'm driving on I-90. I see Mount Stewart with the sun, with the snow on it.
Yeah.
I remember distinctly the last day of classes, having my little Volkswagen and my dog in the back, pulling off to the side of the road and crying, because I thought this would be the last time I ever saw Mount Stewart again, right? And now I drive that road and just laugh again, because I have seen that mountain.
Okay, so then you left, went back home, and then came back to Ellensburg?
I did. I became a VISTA volunteer, which is Volunteers in Service to America, kind of the Peace Corps.
Good for you.
And was in Sacramento for a year, and then moved back to Ellensburg, which I find, and I think you guys are finding this too, a lot of people leave and a lot of people come home.
That's my story.
Yeah.
Came for school, met my girlfriend, fell in love, got married, had a child, moved away, couldn't wait to get back.
Yeah. Well, and I've been lucky just in the last couple of years that we made a rule with our kids that Central Washington University, good school that it is, was not an option.
Yeah, right. We did the same.
Because they had that wonderful Mayberry life in Ellensburg, where you always get on the team and you always get on the play, and you need to go out and experience that anonymousness, and that somebody's not going to pull you out of a scrape because they know your mom or dad or whatever, So they did. They all flew the coop, and I didn't think I'd ever see them back. And my 2 daughters have moved back to town. And my joke is that they've not only have they moved back to town, they have their own homes in town.
Yeah.
And
very good.
Yes, and I didn't have to break my hip to get them to move back.
You're far too young for breaking your hip, Mollie. Yeah.
So, but yes, so that's the first thing that drew me to this town was the intimacy and the accountability, that you had to be saying the same thing.
Has that sustained itself over the 50 years you've been here?
Yes.
It has. Good.
That has.
Yeah.
That has. And yes, definitely. And it plays well everywhere. One of my other favorite towns is Marfa, Texas. That's where I got the idea of starting Ellensburg Community Radio. I heard about this town in West Texas that had a lot of the similarities of Ellensburg, which I think the similarities are that what Ellensburg has is these pockets of people, business people, ranchers, university, Hispanic, and never the twain shall meet.
Right, that's part of
And how do we get that cohesiveness? How do we get them to talk? And that's why my fascination with Marfa has been, it is a West Texas town, a lot of ranchers, a lot of Hispanic. It was an army town, and the facility was closed. The army facility was closed, and a kind of famous artist named Donald Judd purchased the land that the station was on and told all his buddies from Manhattan, come on down, I got plenty of room, plenty of studio space. And all these artists, avant-garde artists, moved down to Marfa, Texas, and it became this hodgepodge, kind of similar, I think, to Ellensburg. And so, but they have the salsa cook-off, and everybody participates. You know, the Hispanic people are making their salsa, the ranchers are making, and they're all under one tent and having fun. And I'm like, how do they do that? How do they get everyone to participate in these events and still stay their separate places, but come together as a community? And that's when I kind of got this idea, because Marfa has a wonderful community radio station. And I thought, well, maybe community radio is what will help do this.
Well, it certainly has helped.
I don't know.
It's really developed under your leadership over the past few years.
Well, thank you. Yeah, I don't know if our town is, more melding together or not. I get, we live here long enough and you get in your own silo and you wonder how are our silos all communicating? I mean, that would be my hope, that we're all, the idea that you can hear from different people from different walks of life in the comfort and security of your own living room on the radio, also not seeing this person, whether they've got hoops in their ears and their noses and their hair, or, what color they are. You don't know any of that on radio. You just hear their voice. And if you can hear their voice and you can empathize with that person, you can now take that next step into what I think is, creating community.
You mentioned a moment ago, you're not sure. And is our community, is it connected or is it not? I think it depends. I think it depends on your point of view. There's a saying that comes to mind that you find that which you seek, and that which you seek is seeking you. And so for me and for Phil and for you, and for the guests that we are inviting onto this podcast, we are seeking a stronger community. We are seeking civility. We are seeking opportunities to interact with groups that we don't necessarily always interact with. The idea that Phil and I have for this podcast, similar to your idea for ECR, for Ellensburg Community Radio, in that we want to provide opportunities for people who may not necessarily have a reason to interact with one another, and to see each other's perspective and to understand each other's point of view. So I think there are some people, a lot of people in our community that want that. We want to have a salsa contest underneath a tent, with the ranchers and then and the Hispanic population and the artists and the weirdos, if you will, that don't find their way to fit, and all of a sudden I can, as a weirdo, can find my place to fit. And there are some people I don't think that want that. I think that some people don't. I think they're very good at othering. We other each other. They belong to that group, and so therefore we cannot interact with each other because they don't believe what I believe, which is really silly, because
they do believe what you believe.
They do.
99.9% of the time.
It's a very small amount, that we don't agree on, and there are important things we don't agree on, of course, that we get to talk about. But in the larger scheme of things, we want food, water, shelter, safety, family, abundance, love, creativity. We want the same, Maslow's hierarchy of needs, if you will.
A lot more similarities than differences between us. You talked a moment ago about the different groups in town. which is not a bad segue into the challenges question.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one thing I've noticed, that people don't communicate across groups very much. We're in Rotary. We don't talk to the people who belong to Moose Lodge. The university people don't get involved with FFA or 4-H. So there is a bunch of different groups. We tend to stick with the people that we're like and are like us in our own groups. So how do we get more cross-group communication going?
Well, and I hate to just keep harping back, but I feel like the radio is a way to do that. I think we ask for PSAs from all those organizations to be on our radio, to come and tell us, what is your mission at, the food bank? What is your mission for FFA? Just so that you're in this, sanctity of your own home and you're hearing, oh, I didn't know FFA did that. I didn't know that this worked.
Mm-hmm.
And so that was our hope, is just to know that these people, and not only that the FAA is having a spaghetti feed for so-and-so who, fell off a ladder and broke their leg. I mean, just whatever it is that brings you into community with those people,
Mm-hmm.
So I really feel like I have never lost the feeling that radio has the ability to do that, and mostly because of that, just we do not see these people, we just hear them, and that's where we find that 1%, the 99.9 that we all agree on, is there.
Mm-hmm.
And so this person has a ring in their nose, but you've already counted them off because you saw the ring in the nose.
Yeah.
So, or the color of their skin, or the whatever that. So that is really truly why I keep doing this radio thing, because I believe in it.
Very good. Yeah.
I've got on my phone, because I've been involved in the ECR just a little bit.
I want a little more.
I need more. I need to involve myself more. But I have an ECR chat on my phone. But I've had to silence. I have silenced the text, because everybody, no one's paid, right? Is there anybody being paid by ECR?
Mike Gallagher, our news guy.
Okay, but all the DJs.
Oh yeah, no one's
all
paid.
the shows.
All the shows.
All volunteer.
All volunteer.
And they're fantastic, right? So I've been so impressed with how much, if you think about work as love and love as work,
right,
there is a whole bunch of love that is being given to Ellensburg Community Radio, people who are wanting to do exactly what you're talking about, which is unite our humanity within the city of Ellensburg and beyond. So good on you. Really impressive.
Thank you.
I'm really impressed with the work that you are doing and have done and continue to do. When I think about you, I think about you as a community maker. This is just one example. This is just one example of you building community. There have been other examples. You were mayor. Were you mayor?
Yes, I was. I was the mayor.
Mayor of Ellensburg.
Yeah, and it's funny because you just can't. It was ages ago, right?
Yeah.
But it is like literally the first thing people say when they introduce me to someone new. And they
Madam
know
Mayor.
this. They say, "Oh, this is Mollie Edson, and she was the mayor." It's like, it's it's a good thing. I enjoy it, but you'll never live that one down. I'll just
nor should you. Yeah.
But I guess what I'm pointing at is that you're walking your talk. You're not just saying these things. And I think, earlier we had a podcast with our sheriff Clay Myers, and he was talking about being lazy, and that citizenry has become lazy and expectant. In that they're not involving themselves, and they're allowing other people to tell them how they're supposed to think. And one of the things that I appreciate about your work is that you are not lazy.
No.
You are very involved in creating the community that which you're seeking. You're creating it. You're manifesting it through your actions. And can you talk to a little bit to our listeners and to our viewers about where is your energy and your determination coming from? What does your come from on this?
That's a good question.
Another big question, yeah. And my first answer would be probably the people who know me well would probably say, because she thinks she's right.
It turns out you probably are in many, many instances.
There is a certain amount, like, duh, like, I mean, when I was thinking about this, getting ready for this podcast, I will, aside from my children,
Yes.
the thing that I am most proud of in my community, and I would say I'm proud of my children in my community as well, but is Morgan Middle School. That building is still standing there, and I know in my heart of hearts that I played a giant role in that happening. And I go by that building, and I just think and at 3:00 I see students walking around downtown that would have been bussed out to wherever the other facility they wanted out on the outskirts of town.
Yep.
And here we kept this old building, added new, and I think it's really attractive. We're still sitting in the same seats in the same auditorium that our grandparents did. The gym is still there. That people who, so I feel like we preserve that. And I think that was that same kind of silo-ish. Well, but we can't have a building like that. It's too hot. It's too hot in the summer, and it's like, well, you guys, there's air conditioning. There's things out there that we can do to improve this. And I knew in my heart of hearts. So I guess when you ask what's my motivation is, what were we going to do with this building if it got abandoned? What was going to be the plan there in the middle of a neighborhood, a building? It's torn down. So there is a certain amount of just stubbornness. That is my determination.
I love that.
No, let's use the word tenacity.
Okay, fair enough.
You're tenacious.
I am tenacious.
Well, you're also a really good example of a person who, in a community like this, has a major effect on the community. You point to that example, and absolutely right. One person with motivation, tenacity, can really make a big difference in a community like this, and you're proof of that.
Well, I sat on that damn bond committee 5 times.
So did I.
5 times.
We were there together.
Yeah.
I think it's probably how we met.
Yeah, it could have been.
Yeah.
I mean, and everyone else is dropping like flies, like, oh, I'm not doing this again. Here we go. And we start with the same conversation, the same every time. But that we were tenacious.
Finally.
Yeah.
Yeah. Finally. Yeah. There is an attraction to old things in our little town. I think that a number of us understand the importance of preserving a legacy that was, and also promoting a legacy that is yet to be. And so you're a really good example of that, in that we are able to retain history, celebrate history, and also recognize that we are on a path of growth and progression, because that's how we do as humans.
Right.
So I'm kind of curious, and back to the challenges question, if there are other topics, other challenges you see in the community that we might talk about a little bit.
Well, there is I would say that I'm very hopeful right now with our community, and I would say one of the challenges would be the lack of diversity, but I'm actually seeing, with the growth that we're having, I'm actually seeing more diversity. I mean, you go up on campus, my goodness.
Goodness.
It's just like, wonderful, and we are the most diverse campus in the state of Washington.
Are we?
We are, yes. I mean, Central Washington University, and those kids are starting to come down. I mean, I'm pretty excited about this Indian restaurant in the 420 building, and people are of different, with different tastes and different ethnic origins are coming down and now eating food. We're actually supplying some things that other people want and need in their community. So the diversity, I think, is going to take care of itself with the population growth, and provided we stay open and we have our committees that make sure that these people feel included, and so that has always been, especially raising my kids in such a kind of an environment where there wasn't any other religious or ethnic
perspective. Yeah, I
Perspective.
understand. Yeah.
Yeah.
We raised our kids here too, and sometimes we would do on purpose things like take them in Seattle to go to Capitol Hill,
Right.
just to show that there are people who don't necessarily look like this.
Yeah.
And I think the diversity that's coming in is going to be a very good thing. There's some resistance to it. Been working with some of the groups at the university, some of the minority groups, and some of their experiences have not been totally positive.
Sure.
And that's one of the things that, as we get more diverse, we'll need to do some things about addressing. Hopefully we will in a positive way.
Right.
Well, that's a great segue into our final question, which is, well,
How do we know?
How do we know? How will we know? How will we know we're doing better as a community as far as embracing diversity, growing into who we are able to be, just all the things that you envision as when you think about community from your perspective. How do you think we'll know when we're doing better?
Well, I can say, and you mentioned I was the mayor, but I would just like to say some kudos to the city of Ellensburg. I want to show you that this screen is dead.
Oh.
We've got this one. Let's roll on.
Okay.
Yeah.
To the city of Ellensburg, because I, even when I was there many, many, many years ago, through now, I feel like it has been a well-run city government, and that we have taken in all of this new population, and sure, there's been growing pains and everything else, but it has been managed. And so my feeling is that where you run amok, and I do look a lot at city services because of my history, where you run amok is when you get this sprawl and this, and we haven't done that. We've really stuck to a core downtown area that is beautiful and lively and getting more lively
all the
time. So I think we need to pat ourselves on the back on that one, because I think that we have done a really good job, and I think that has been, we've had really good people on city council, and we've had really good city managers, and I would say that would usually be a problem for most cities when they look at growth, and it isn't. In fact, it's just becoming more vibrant downtown, I think. So, and remind me, the question is,
how will we know?
How will we know?
How will we know? What will be the indicators that we're like, oh, hot dog, we're doing better?
Hot dog, we're making salsa under a tent.
I love this idea.
The ranchers and the farmers and the Hispanic people and the
Blue Bear
Puppet Lab puppets and the,
Goosebumps right now. I want to make some salsa. I make a pretty mean salsa. I use tomatillos in my salsa. Roasted tomatillos. That's my secret.
Oops, you told your secret.
Right. About this podcast thing.
But yeah, no, that's and really I do like to think that we are kind of moving in that direction, rather than even with what's happening in the nation right now. I have hope that we will all have realized we're friends.
Yeah.
And this could be all happening out there, and maybe there are other cities where people are eating their pets, but they're not doing that here.
Yeah.
And we're not going to accuse people of doing that either.
Yeah.
And we're not going to believe when people tell us that that's what people are doing. And I think that will keep us safe.
I like that a lot. The sense of community that'll keep us safe.
We're beginning to see themes as we've been interviewing others. I've been seeing this theme of responsible citizenry, whereas you get to be involved in your citizenry. You get to be a citizen that is actually doing something to improve the community in which you live, instead of just relying upon somebody else. Mentioned earlier, one of our previous guests mentioned being lazy, and so I'm wanting to learn more about that personally, about how we can become a more responsible citizenry, and how we can encourage others to be, a community maker like Mollie Jean has been and continues to be. So I think that you and I get to explore that a little bit.
And we will.
Yeah.
And we will.
And I just have to do my little plug.
Yeah, we're ready.
Listen to Ellensburg Community Radio.
Yeah.
And
How do you get on to Ellensburg Community Radio?
Well, you go to ebergradio.org.
Yeah.
And you press listen now.
Yeah.
Or you download an app for Live 365, which you can have on your phone.
Yeah.
Or you say, Alexa, play Ellensburg Community Radio. Or hopefully in the next year you go to.
Look at that. Here it comes.
They're putting on Alexa is putting on Ellensburg Community Radio, isn't
Right
that
now.
Easy.
Yeah. I didn't know you had Alexa, but
I
that's
do.
pretty
Yes,
cool.
that
That's
is.
pretty cool.
That's funny.
But in a year, I'm hoping that you'll be able to jump in your car and go to 98.3 on your dial and listen to Ellensburg Community Radio.
Power of the tower.
Right. But the point of this is that what we've been doing is this news program that we have said is fair, factual, and uplifting. And that news is now being broadcast on Ellensburg Community Radio, on the Berg, and on KXLE. So we're all hearing this news, and it's all about how great the girls are doing at basketball, and how the alley between this and that is going to be closed for sewer repair, and how but it's just the facts. It's just the stuff that makes us a community, and everybody's hearing it. And the experiment is, if we can have everybody hearing the same news, can it unite us? Just as it has been dividing us.
I love that
over
vision.
The years.
Yeah, I love that vision.
It's a common theme, listening to the same source of information instead of being pulled into crazy directions.
Good job.
Mollie Jean, thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks for coming today. Thank you for participating in our podcast. Thanks for being a community maker and continuing to contribute to our community of Ellensburg and beyond.
Well, and I would say the same of both of you.
Thank you
for doing this, and thank you for helping build community.
Yeah.
Thank you.
We're going to continue.
We are.
Yeah. All right.
All right, everybody.
Thank you.
Next time.
Until next time.
Okay.